Yes, thank you for the reminder on that. I was trying to let people in, and then with the breakout rooms, because we don't have everybody. So I'm going to do it manually. Do we have time, Patrick, or you want to do an intro and then we can break out into rooms?
No, you have time, so you go ahead and start your logistics right now in terms of getting everybody set up for the breakout rooms. Wow.
Okay, so I'm just going to go by my screen, and we're going to put 3 in a room. So, and what I want you to do is, once I give you your number, you can go to the top right corner. There's 3 dots. Under that dot, you'll have an opportunity to rename. Can you please rename yourself with that number in front of your name? And then that way, when we go to the breakout group, hopefully it'll be easier for me to split you up. So, so Carolyn and Judith and Erica, you're going to be number 1. Carolyn, Judith, and Erica.
And that's the top right 3 dots on your own picture.
Yes, sorry about that. Then group 2 is going to be Sylvia, Christine, and Lisa.
We have 2 Lisas.
That was just talking to Patrick. I know, I was trying glasses, blondish hair. What?
Bass, Lisa Bass.
Lisa Bass, yes.
I'm back, Julie.
That's right. And what's our number?
You're number 2. Number 3 is Shay, Shauna, and Lisa, my fellow Army bands person. Group 4 is Cassie, Brass Ovaries, and Do Re Mi Lavender. I don't know what your first, I don't know business names.
Donna Lisa, I'm just checking. You said Lisa, but then Army Band, and I'm the Army Band. So is there another Lisa?
No, Leslie, my Army band. Yes.
Okay, just checking.
You're 3. And then group 5 is Nancy, Phoebe, and Deanna with 1 N, because I know that we had 2. And then Patrick, is it okay if we do 2 groups of 4? Because then we're gonna, so Lisa,
Yeah, that's fine.
Crawford, Thomas, if you will go to group 1. And then I'm not sure how you say your name, Cherami. I don't want to hack it.
Cherami.
Cherami. We will put you in group 2.
Bless you.
And that may change because we just got Carmen. So Lisa,
You just add Carmen in group 3.
Yeah.
And then if anybody else comes on, add them to group 4 and then to group 5. You can go that way.
Okay. So Carmen, I know you just popped on. You're going to go into breakout room number 3. And if you will fix that on your name, everybody make sure you please do that. Top right-hand corner of your photo, there's 3 dots. Scroll down, there should be an opportunity to rename yourself and add your number to the first part of your name. So that way, when we break you into groups, I'll be able to do that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups.
Okay.
All right.
And Cherami, I see your message there. You're on your phone trying to find it. If not, Cherami,
There
We'll be
she is.
able-
She's in 2.
Okay, yay, it worked.
All right, so did Deanna get a group?
Yes. Deanna,
Julie, Nancy, and BB?
yep, you're in
you
group
name yourself.
5. She says, same here, I can't rename myself.
Okay. No, if they can remember what groups they're in, that's fine. So write it down somewhere so they know what groups they're in. If you're in this Zoom call on a phone, then you probably put yourself at a disadvantage. Unless you have a large phone and you're able to do some manipulation, because I'm going to be doing some screenshots, sharing some videos. And this is, we're actually going to be workshopping. We're actually going to be doing a case study and going over some actual financial statements. So if you're just listening in on a phone, you really have put yourself at a disadvantage.
Okay, and still a couple more. Looks like Nancy is logging in now. We'll just
We
give.
had Nancy's logged in.
Okay. Okay, Julie's on.
So Nancy. Nancy,
Right.
you're group 5.
And I put the instructions in the chat as well.
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, well, we're looking forward to this tonight. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Patrick because there's a lot of information tonight, so we want to get started on that. So I am so happy to introduce Patrick Alcorn. He helps high achievers and senior leaders in transition align their priorities with their purpose, passion, and potential so they can lead effectively both personally and professionally. He is the founder and director of the Veteran Business Outreach Center, University of Texas, Arlington, and a John Maxwell certified coach, trainer, and speaker. Patrick offers live workshops, webinar, keynote speaking, and one-on-one coaching, aiding your personal and professional growth through study and practical application of John's proven leadership methods. Having served as an NCAA athlete, a U.S. Army engineer, a deputy city councilman, and an award-winning sales professional for Fortune 100 companies, he knows how to empower you to get up, get out, and get moving, even under the most difficult circumstances. Patrick, we're so happy to have you here tonight. Turn it over to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tracy and Donalisa. And again, I want to say congratulations to each and every one of you ladies for the grant, for your pitch that got you this particular grant. And I want to congratulate you on being here this evening. You know, the most important thing that you can do is work on yourself, because your business will never outgrow you. If you're a 4, your business will never be greater than a 4. If you're a 6, your business will never be greater than a 6. And so unless you grow yourself, your business will not grow. And tonight we're going to be talking about growing yourself. As we get started, what I want you to do is I want you to think about all the different hats that you wear in the business. All of you ladies are small business owners. Now, let's be honest. What are all the different hats that you wear? If you had to draw an organizational chart and put titles on the work that you do in your business, what are some of the hats that we're wearing out there? Feel free to unmute yourself and respond. Or you can type your response in the chat, or you can do both.
Sales, marketing.
Sales and marketing. I heard Erica chime in. Who else?
Project manager, user experience, instructional design.
Wow, go ahead. Keep going.
Customer
Patient
service.
care coordinator. Say
Customer
I heard
service.
you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, customer service. Go ahead.
Operations.
IT.
I see.
IT.
IT, okay.
Operations.
Operations, HR, all of these amazing titles. And what's interesting when you think about these titles, the title that we tend to spend the most time in is where our strengths lie. So if we're a great people person and we're great with managing and hiring and firing and training and development, we spend the bulk of our time focusing on the HR side. If we're a great marketer, then we spend the bulk of our time focusing on the marketing. If we're a great technician, the one who actually does the work, in this case, I'm looking at Leslie, say patient care coordinator, which suggests to me that she does some things in patient care. If that's her technical expertise, she probably spends the bulk of her time doing that. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how much time do you spend being the financial manager? Everybody in the chat, put a number in there from 1 to 10. How much time do you legitimately spend in your business on a scale from 1 to 10 being the financial manager? Awesome. So BB puts a 10 and Sylvia's got a 10 and the other folks are somewhere around there. I think Judith has got a 9 and Deanna's got a 7. But most folks are somewhere 6 or lower. They're about at about the midpoint. And ironically, there's a reason why we tend to put off our finances, why most small business owners put off their finances. They typically put off their finances because they either don't know or they don't understand. They're uncomfortable with it and it's not their strength. And they prefer to hire it out to their accountant and their bookkeeper. And I'm here to tell you this evening, whether you have an accountant or a bookkeeper, you still are the financial manager for your business. And the amount of time, energy, and effort that you put in to monitoring your finances should be somewhere from 7, 8, or higher, typically in the 8, 9, 10 range or so forth, because your business is all about the money. It literally is. In order for you to stay in business, you need to know what's going on with your money. And what's interesting, you'll find as we're going through this course tonight, is finances actually can be fun. And understanding your financial statements can be fun, and going through your financial statements can be fun. So to get started, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right here. Let's take a look at this quick video. Type into the chat whether or not you got sound as I start this particular video for you.
It goes like this. If there are 2 people involved in a business out there, traditionally one person knows how to make it and the other person knows how to what? Sell it. I heard someone say spend it. That is the wrong answer. That's family finance. Selling it, right? Making it and selling it. That's what people do who start businesses. The financial side of the business is often left to whom? The accountant, the banker, your spouse, or maybe nobody. We'll just hope it works. Now, there's a lot of recent research that indicates that hope is not a strategy, right? So the thing is, where does the financial side, who takes care of it? And when does it get taken care of, and why? I think it has to do with attitudes. And I think those attitudes are important because it's human nature to do what you do well, isn't it? When do we do what we don't do so well? Later, right? And when does later come? Never if you plan it too late, exactly. Never if you plan it properly, right? It also comes about in the attitudes we have about finance itself. Finance is, what's the first word that comes into your mind? Boring.
Yeah, I see Erica yawning, so it really is boring.
Tell it like it is. Finance is boring. Why do people believe finance is boring? Why is that? Because it is? Is that what someone said? They don't what? They don't understand it. What I've learned is, it's not what we're going to do in this program, Profit Mastery, creating value and building wealth in your business. We're going to take a trip through the financial structure of a company. In my mind, it's not boring at all. It's a terrifically exciting trip, and it will give us some insights into how that money flows and how we can manage it. That's what I really want to do. What I have learned Although it's not finance that's boring, anything that affects your wallet ought to be of interest to most of us, don't you think? But it's financial people who are boring. That's the problem. So what we're going to try to do is make this topic, finance, come alive. We've got some case studies that we're going to work through together to illustrate the points. But we're going to try to make it come alive, all right? That's kind of our goal here. What else? Anything else about finance? I think sometimes people are afraid of it. Why? We fear what we don't understand. And our job, our goal, my goal today is to really, well, 3 goals really. One is to demystify finance, to really take the mystery out of the numbers. We'll give a plain English process, okay? To give that process, simple, keep it simple. We'll work through it and give you the confidence to apply these tools in your own business when you leave.
All right, so that's what we're going to do this evening. We're going to focus on demystifying financing and find ways to make it fun. We're actually going to go through a case study. So if you would, pull out your handout that I had you to print out, and then I'll also pull it up on the screen. But what we're actually going to do is we're actually going to walk through and talk through financial statements. Now, I know many of you didn't get a chance to get to it, so we'll do it here together, and I'll also give you a chance in your breakout session to do it. But let's start with the quiz itself. So in your handout, what I did was I gave you a quiz. Let me get that back up on the screen for you real quickly. So what did I just share? Oh, I'm sharing the quiz. Okay, so I gave you a quiz. And the quiz has 5 questions to it if you're looking there on your screen. The first question is, what is net worth? The second question is, what is your definition of working capital? And then we'll talk about the working capital cycle, what that looks like. And then I have a math question for you. So hopefully you got your pencil and your calculator. And I'm going to ask you I'm going to ask you to solve this particular math problem. And then question number 4, what are the 3 uses for net profit after taxes? So when you've got money left over and you're at the bottom line of your financials, what can you do with that bottom line? The net profit after taxes. What are the 3 uses that net profit after taxes for? And then you can see here there's an extra credit question. So if you would, Donna Lisa, go ahead and you guys can work on this together in your rooms. And I'm going to send you to your rooms for 5 minutes. Let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's take 10 minutes. That'll give you just over a minute per question. So I'll send you to breakout rooms. You guys work together for the next 10 minutes and answer these quiz questions. Right?
Okay,
So
I think it might be easier if I set up the 5 breakout rooms, then they can choose which room they go in based on their number. Let's try that.
Okay.
I've got 5 rooms created, and you will go into the room of the number that we gave you. And I know that we just had somebody join. Julie, you'll be going into group 4. So let's see what happens. Are you getting the option to pick a room?
Where will we find the option?
It should have popped up.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, it should be on the bottom and says breakout rooms. Kind of near where it says share screen, reactions, participants.
If you don't see it, then you probably have a floating menu bar. So hover over the screen until your menu shows up on the screen.
I see the participants chat, shared screen, record, and reactions. And mute and stop video.
If you're in that bar and you click on the three dots, you have the second button from the top says join breakout room.
Is it on my picture?
No, it's on that floating menu bar. The floating meeting controls. The floating meeting controls has a section that's called more with three dots on it. And the second one up under more and three dots is join breakout room. Did you find it?
I sent her.
Okay. So I see folks in breakout room 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's only one person in 5. So.
I'm sending them. I'm manually sending them.
Oh, okay.
We'll see what happens. So we do have one, room 5 only has 2.
That's fine.
Yeah. And are you, Patrick, are you calculating the time, or did you need me to do that?
No, I'm watching the time.
Okay, good. If you'll let me know when they have, I don't know, 5 minutes, I'll broadcast a message and.
Okay. I'm going to pop into room 5 for a second. If I pop into a room, can I pop out?
I think you should be able to. You should be able to go to the main room.
Okay. I'm going to go to room 5.
Is that anything I can help you with, Donna Lisa?
No, it's all on this end.
Okay.
And, I had everybody in a room, but because everybody showed up, we had some late people.
Yeah.
So, which I kind of thought would happen. So
Yeah.
it really works well if we just assign them a number and then they just get to go to that room.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
And it's still recording, so that's good.
Okay, good. Did you take roll?
I have the names here on this sheet.
Okay. I'll leave it to you then. Boy, I was not sure I was going to make it home in time.
Yeah, I didn't answer because it said no caller ID. You must have your phone on.
Yeah, well, I don't want to call it, a lot of times, all
Yeah.
those calls, so I do that and then I forget to put it back. I did have the opportunity to let the dog out though, but I'm like, hurry, come on, run.
And it's not, and that's when they always take the longest too.
I know. Hurry, hurry. Or when it's like freezing cold outside. Now you may be able to hear the construction out front.
Mm-mm.
Okay, good. I can sure hear it. How long was this session for them?
I think he said, I originally was 5 and then I think he gave him 10.
Okay.
Do you know the brass ovaries lady, what her first name is? I don't remember. I'll write it down.
I think her last name is Kerr. No, I don't have that list right here. I thought I did, but
That's
I had.
okay. I just wrote her and the do re mi lavender
Okay.
down and
Well, I had packed everything back up to take to work.
okay, I got everybody.
Because the only 3 other people should be you, me, and Patrick, right?
Mhm.
Well, that's good. We're just missing 1 then. Oh, I got an email, I think before I got home. Have you sent the thing out yet for that you might do videos? Or we're gonna look for volunteers out of this group or things for social media?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Cassie Warren sent an email about that.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I'm not sure if you've done anything about that yet.
No, Justina was supposed to give me something yesterday, but
Okay.
I'll check, I'll circle back with her
Okay.
and then we'll send out an email tomorrow to him.
Okay. Right.
So how do you want me to, this video is going to be really hard for, we're just missing 1 person. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So we've got 19. So we're missing some people, but it's going to be really hard for them to. Depending on what he does.
Well, how do you get that many? I was showing there were 29 people here.
Mm,
Well, Julie's here twice, right?
no, there's only 19. We'll wait till everybody pops back on, but like Julie James is missing, her otter is on here.
Mhm. Okay, well, I thought she usually had 2. So that would be 25. 'Cause I'm not sure how it'd be showing 29. And the numbers were all showing up, but now they're not. Of course, when you want to look at them, huh?
Yeah, I've got 4 in room 1. 4 in room 2. 4 in room 3. 5 in room 4. And 2 in room 5.
That's weird. Yeah, maybe when they come back, maybe some are in here more than once. That was the number I was showing though that were here.
And I wasn't keeping track of the time, so I can't give anybody a message.
I hope they're okay. I'm like, I wonder if we should check on them. Well, I figured you'd be fine if I didn't get back in time. It's like, well, this is pretty easy here now.
Yeah.
I mean, so, but it was when I got out of there, I'm like, oh my gosh, how did it get so late? And I don't really know what 380 is like,
Mm,
you know, especially later. Is it really crowded or not?
right.
So it wasn't bad, luckily. Well, my son had called me, so I called him back because he has surgery next week. I was
Mm.
on the phone with him until 6:21, and that phone was here, and I think you were starting to put them in the breakout rooms.
Yeah, I didn't know. Do you want to pop in to his and see? I can send you there.
Oh, you just send me away then.
I'm pretty sure you can come out whenever you want.
Yeah, I think there's that thing where you can leave the room.
There we go. Oh, maybe not.
Huh. Oh, it looks like people are coming back. Maybe just send them all a message now. Well, how is that?
Very good. I
Good.
That was fun.
It was good.
Yeah.
Good. Oh, it's so important. And a lot of people are afraid of the numbers.
Yeah, very much.
It's good to know what you don't know.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, and you can always, at least you'll know what to look for too, if you aren't doing your books, and you know, to look over to make sure somebody else is doing them right as well. I will go and check in some of the other rooms.
Yeah, I see Patrick still in there by himself. Oh.
Patrick was trying to leave room number 5.
All right, there we go. I was stuck in the breakout room. Awesome. So did we get everybody back?
No, I'm gonna close all the rooms right now.
Okay. Fabulous. Awesome. Just let me know when everybody's back.
Looks like they're all back.
Awesome. So welcome back, everyone. How was that quiz for you? How was that exercise? Feel free to unmute yourselves.
It was good. We had to look up some stuff, but we learned from it. So
Awesome. So I'm sharing the quiz on the screen again. I believe that's what you guys are seeing. Let's go ahead and go through the quiz real quick. So what did we come up with as a definition for net worth? What is the definition? Anybody?
Current assets minus current liabilities equals net worth.
Awesome. So that would be the bank's definition, which is absolutely right. Current assets. And I'm typing into the chats, which is why I'm talking like this, minus current liabilities equals net worth, right? But I heard something that came out of the group that I was in, that was in group 5. So that's the bank's definition. That's the formal financial definition of net worth, right? It's current assets minus current liabilities, that equals your net worth. It's really everything that you own minus everything that you owe, in layman's terms, right? Everything that you own minus everything that you owe. Is that what you could sell your business for if you were selling your business right now? Do you sell it for the net worth? Erica says no. What do you sell it for, Erica?
Yes or no?
Valuation. The
Right.
value,
So,
valuation on what somebody will actually pay for it.
right. What
And the
somebody will pay
possibilities.
for. So the net worth doesn't always translate into what your business is worth. Even though net worth is in the definition, the worth doesn't always translate to what your business is worth, because your business is only worth what folks will pay for. And sometimes that has nothing to do with your net worth. It has more to do with your revenues, right? It has more to do with how you're actually driving your business. So question number 2, what's your definition of working capital?
Cash flow or money to operate.
Okay, so money to operate. Working capital is money to operate. I'm typing into the chat again. Money to operate is considered what you call your working capital. I'm going to go back to net worth. So the accounting definition of net worth is current assets minus current liabilities. But the sales definition, in other words, how you sell your business, your net worth is whatever you can sell your business for. That's what really is what your business is worth. The bank has a different definition of net worth. The bank's definition of net worth is they will actually take your net profits and divide it by your cash flow. So when we look at the bank's definition of net worth, they take net profits and they divide it by cash flow. And that's what the bank uses as a definition for it. What does the IRS use as a definition of your net worth? Anybody?
profit and loss statements? Or maybe the profit you make?
That was kind of a trick question, Erica. The IRS definition of your business's net worth is whatever they say it is. They actually have their own estimates and their own ideals of how they're going to figure out what your net worth is. So when the IRS gets a hold of your financial statements, they're going to do their own assessment, their own evaluation, and they're going to turn around and say, this is what your net worth is. This is what your business is. They don't use an actual equation. They don't use tables. They use some whole algorithm that they put together to come back to you and say, this is what your business is worth. If you think of it as somewhat like property appraisals, when you're in real estate and you're purchasing, if you're not in real estate and you're purchasing property or selling your property, everybody use what they call comps, which is comparables. It compares it to what everything else is in the market and so forth. And that's how they come up with it. But when the bank goes to compare the value of your property, they may not necessarily use the comps and so forth. So the IRS acts much like the real estate industry, where they just decide that we're going to tell you that this is what your property is worth. If you go to the tax appraiser on your property, the tax appraiser, Dallas County Appraisal District will tell you your property is worth one thing, but the bank will tell you your property is worth something else. And a realtor based on comps will tell you your property is worth something else. So all these definitions are floating around out there. The reason I say that is because it's important for you to understand what definition you're working with when you're working with your financial statements. And typically you're going to be working with the equation that we talked about in the very beginning, and that is current assets minus current liabilities. Now, working capital, as you guys have already identified, is the cash or the money that you need to operate, right? It's the money that's in the till, the money that you use to pay your bills and your expenses and everything else that's going on a day-to-day basis. So if we look at that definition, what then might be considered the working capital cycle? What did you guys come up with in your groups? In that top box in the center, what goes in that top box in working capital cycle? And you guys,
Money in.
and what form does that come in? It's cash. You're right, Deanna, it's cash. So everybody in that top box, write the word cash. Once that cash comes into your business, what do you do with that cash? Where does it roll into your business? How do you use that cash?
Inventory.
Uh-oh, somebody's been in my profit mastery class. So you use that cash to actually purchase inventory. So in the box on the bottom right, write inventory. So folks are saying, well, I'm in a service business. I don't have inventory. What is inventory in a service business?
Time.
Time is inventory in the service business, right? So you use that cash to purchase time in a service business, or you use that cash to purchase inventory. And with that inventory, you take that inventory out and you sell it. So then we move over to the left-hand side on the bottom left, and that converts to what? What's on the bottom left?
Cash receivable.
That's right, accounts receivable.
Accounts receivable, yeah.
Right? So accounts receivable is what ends up going in on the bottom left. And that's the working capital cycle. So the money that flows into your business is going through this cycle on a regular basis. And how it flows through that cycle determines how efficient you are in managing the cash in your business. And it's you have to understand how efficient you are in monitoring in managing the cash as it flows through your business. This is where businesses fail. Businesses fail because they don't manage their working capital. In other words, their cash flow and their cash flow cycle. They find out that they don't have enough cash to purchase the inventory that they need to make the sales that they're trying to generate. And somewhere in that cycle, something gets screwed up along the way. Not enough cash, so they go out and get a loan. They get a loan and they purchase inventory. Well, they don't price the inventory right, so they sell it at the wrong price. and they've got all these accounts receivable. They're not collecting money from their purchasers, from the buyers, right? They're not collecting money at the rate in the way that they need to be collecting their money. And so now they got to go back and borrow more money again to get more cash. That becomes a vicious problem. If you're managing that properly, that cycle works smoothly and your business continues to work through that cycle smoothly. So question number 3, the pricing question. What's the price that we need to sell for a 26% gross profit margin? What is the price?
541.
541 to give us a gross profit margin. How many of you came up with a different number? And what number did you come up with?
We came up with a different number. We came up with 504.
Okay. Anybody else? Those are the two numbers that most folks usually come up with when they come through this equation. The correct answer happens to be 541. So let's see what happens and why we end up with 504. What happens is a lot of time we get confused of the difference between the markup and the margin. Markup and the margin, two very different definitions. When we talk about the markup, the way that you should have gotten this answer is, remember, gross profit equals sales minus the cost of goods sold, right? Sales minus the cost of goods sold is what gross profit equals. So if you do the math on that equation, what you find out, I usually work in a different system. Let's see if I can get a marker here. Something to write with on the screen. Here it is, annotates. I'm gonna draw and use my squiggly line. So I'm gonna try and draw as much as I can, but it's sales over cost of goods sold. I'm sorry, sales minus cost of goods sold equals, there we go. Trying to do this with a mouse, so I'm just taking me a little bit work here, equals gross profit. So everybody see that equation? It's sales minus cost of goods sold equals gross profit. So if your sales, if 100% of your sales, if the number that you're trying to, okay, there's the math. $4 times 100% of sales, 0.74. That's some interesting math there. And then move the decimal place. That's exactly how you got it. So the answer that you're seeing in the chat, somebody wrote in the chat how Judith got it in the chat, is exactly how you would have gotten it. What you would have found out is that sales minus cost of goods sold equals gross profit. And if the gross profit you're looking for is 26%, then sales minus cost of goods sold has to equal 26%. When you do the math on that, you end up with $4 over 0.74. Right? Equals 100%, which is 0.74 over 0.74, which is 1, right? 74 over 74 is 1. So 4% over 0.74 equals 1. And when you solve for X, equals 541.
Well, I think the confusion might come in is where the 74 came in, which is 26% minus the 100%.
Well, right, 100%.
74.
Right, it's 100% minus the 26%. That's where you got the 74 from. My marker, my highlighter's changing right there. So it's 100% because we're saying the sales minus cost of goods sold equals gross profit. And that number, the gross profit, is supposed to be 26%. So 100% of the sales equals 26%. That's where you would have gotten this number, 100% of 100% of the sales equals 26, because the gross profit would have went up here. And you would have had this number over here, 100% equals 20%, 26%. So you had 100 minus 26 would have given you the 74, and that's how you would have done the math. In any sense, the confusion that usually comes into play is people confuse gross profit margin with markup. If you were looking for the markup, the answer would have been 504. A 26% markup would have been 504, but a 20% gross margin equals 541. So the fourth question, what are the three uses for net profit after taxes? You have a, how do I get rid of all this clear? That clears it all. Let's see, clear all drawings, there it is. So question number 4 is, what are the three uses for net profits after taxes? What can you do with the money you have after taxes? Money left over, the bottom line.
Reinvest, repay debt, a loan, and take home.
Reinvest, do what?
Reinvest,
Okay,
repay debt, and take home.
that's it. Reinvest, repay debt, and then take home. So everybody write that on your answer sheet. I'm trying to do this with my mouse. Right? Take it home. Those are the three things that you can do with it. And then the last question. So think about question number 4. Just the money that you have left over, reinvest it, put it back into your business. When you reinvest it and it goes back into your business, what are you going to do? You're going to buy assets. You're going to purchase inventory. You're going to do things of that nature. That's what you're doing to grow and move your business forward. Or you're taking it home, which means you're paying yourself, right? You're taking it out as salary and you're paying yourself. And then the last thing that you can do is you can pay down debt so that you can begin to balance out your balance sheet, lower down your liabilities, and increase your assets. It's what you're trying to do with this whole process over here is impact your balance sheet. So with that said, what was the final question? What did we come up with for the final question? Question number 5, extra credit. Mama bull versus Papa bull. 3 bulls in a paddock, Mama bull, Papa bull, and baby bull. Baby bull is feeling rather rambunctious today and goes running across the paddock, steps into a hole and lets out a horrible cry as he falls down with a broken leg. Who gets to the baby bull first, Mama bull or Papa bull?
Mama, always.
Papa bull,
Mama.
Papa bull.
Papa bull.
Those of you who say Papa bull, why do you say Papa bull?
Called bull is a male.
No such thing as a
There's no such thing as a
Mama
mama
bull. All right, well, great. So no such thing as a Mama bull. So let's get into our financial statements. That was a little fun for us here. Let's get into our financial statements. Before we do, here's what we want to do. You're going to be looking at the financial statement for this company called Cascade Office Systems, right? If someone would read the first paragraph here for Cascade Office Systems, please.
Cascade Office Systems originally opened when John Thomas began manufacturing custom wood office furniture for select clientele. He had just taken early retirement from a major manufacturer where he had been a successful sales rep for over 20 years.
Next person.
The new business was a gradual success of the strength of Mr. Thomas's reputation and his ability to deliver quality furniture at a reasonable price.
Next paragraph.
Mr. Thomas, semi-retired.
Business this year, turning it over to his daughter and son-in-law, Laura and Rob. Both of them perceived a growing market opportunity revolving around the production of custom office furniture for computers. While not forsaking the existing business, they implemented an impressive development campaign 2 years ago, including an expansion of the existing building. Last year, they began their marketing effort with an aggressive promotion based on price and quality.
Awesome. And then the last paragraph.
It is now the end of the current fiscal year, and they have come to you for financial assistance. They are flush with excitement, telling you things will be great if they can just get the funds needed to get over the hump. The brush off any talks of problems as only temporary. What observation can you offer?
All right, so you are their financial advisor, and we're going to take a look at their financial statements, and you guys are going to offer them some observations from their financial statements. If you look on the right-hand side of this handout, this is how you want to approach your financial statements, and this is how you want to approach any financial statement. The first thing that you want to do is make sure that you have accurate information, right? Garbage in, garbage out. Good stuff in, good stuff out. So if you're looking at financial statements and the inputs on those financial statements is all garbage, the financial statement itself is garbage. So think about your own business, making sure that your accountant, your bookkeeper, and you are putting accurate information into your financial statements. Otherwise, what you're reading is just garbage. After you have your financial statements, then you're going to package the information in such a way that you can see the relationship between things that are in the financial statements. In other words, what's the relationship between sales and cost of goods sold? What's the relationship between the balance sheet and the income statement? What's the relationship between the income statement and the cash flow statement? What are the relationships between all of those? And you want to lay your information out in such a way that you understand the relationships between every single thing that's on that financial statement. Step 3 is you'll calculate the financial ratios, and you'll understand why those ratios are so critically important here in just a minute. And then you'll record industry composites. What do I mean by that? Well, every industry has certain ratios that measure the success of businesses that are in that particular industry. And they have ratios based upon the amount of revenue, based upon the amount of sales, and so forth. And those ratios, those industry ratios, if you compare yourself to those industry ratios, you can tell how you are doing as a business owner. So for example, Erica in the food service industry and so forth, in the food service industry and food manufacturing industry, there are certain ratios and certain numbers that make sense. And if your numbers align with the numbers of the industry, then that means you're doing as well as the industry does, and your business is on par with everything else in the industry. We call the industry the big brothers. If your numbers are different, then you've got to say if your numbers are better, then you're doing better than the industry, which means you have a more efficient process. If your numbers are worse, then that means you have a less efficient process and there may be some trouble in your business. So that's where the composite numbers come from.
And that's what you're on those ratios.
You'll find those ratios in a couple of places, but those ratios are associated with what we call NAICS codes, NAICS, right? The North American Industry Classification System, NAICS, NAICS codes, NAICS.com or .gov. I think it's .gov, NAICS.gov or NAICS.com, one of those two websites. You can type in a keyword and it will tell you what your NAICS code is. And from that NAICS code, you can find out. But the smarter way to get those ratios is to ask your banker. Your banker will know exactly what the NAICS codes are because they use those NAICS codes in order to evaluate your particular business. So just ask your banker and say, hey, I'm not the NAICS code. Ask your banker, what are the ratios that you at the bank are using to evaluate my company, and so forth. And then you'll analyze, you'll compare the results, analyze those results, and then finally you'll take action. So that's the process that you go through. So let's jump into the process, and let's take a look at financial statements. So here's the financial statement for Cascade Office Systems. As you look at this financial statement, I'm not gonna send you guys to groups again, and we took a little bit more time than we needed to. I'm not gonna send you guys to groups. So as you look at these financial statements, this financial statement here, we're looking at, bless you, the balance sheet. And the balance sheet shows all of the assets, current assets, total assets. And then on the bottom part of the balance sheet, usually it's left and right, but on the bottom part of the asset is total liabilities, net worth. And notice it always is in balance. That's why they call it the balance sheet. Total assets equals total liabilities and net worth, $1,131,000. What can you tell me as you look at this balance sheet? What do you guys notice? What jumps out to you?
They're losing cash flow
Okay,
over the years.
right. So this is not cash flow, but it is cash. And you can see, yes, their cash is going down. So the trend is down on cash. What's the trend on accounts receivable?
Going up.
What does that mean for them? The accounts receivable trend is going up. What does that mean?
More sales.
Okay, what type of sales?
Accounts receivable sales.
Accounts receivable means sales are come in what form? Credit sales, right? Those are not cash sales. Their cash is going down. They're getting less cash in, and their accounts receivable is going up. That means they're doing more credit sales and or they are taking longer to collect on their current sales, right? They're taking longer to collect on their sales. What about inventory? What's happening to inventory?
They have a ton of inventory on hand.
Right, inventories, what's the trend?
It's
Not
tripled from year 2.
Yeah, it's going up, isn't it? It's going up and up and up and so on and so forth. So there may be a challenge there as to why is their inventory going up? Some of that inventory might be outdated. Some of that inventory they may have to reduce to just get rid of. But the bottom line is inventory is cash. If they didn't have this much inventory, they could have more cash if they were to get rid of that inventory. If they didn't purchase all that inventory, that could have been actual cash that they had to use for other things that they needed the cash for, right? So as you go down and look at what's going on with their leasehold improvements. I'm sorry, I'm looking at their total current assets. So their total current assets have gone up, correct?
Yes.
Right? But it's the way in which they've gone up when you look at the trends. It's the way in which it's going up that might be an issue. So go down, look at their other assets up underneath there, their fixed assets. So their vehicle, no change pretty much, right?
The furniture increased.
Furniture increased. Well, if we remember from the story we just read about them, is they just moved into a new building and stuff like that. So they probably got the new equipment and stuff and everything that they need for their new building. Look at equipment, it's flat from the last 2 years. So no equipment since in year 2 to year 3.
The building increased. That's because they moved.
Okay, so on and so forth. And so you can see that. Now let's go down and look at the bottom part of their balance sheet. What's going on here? Look at their notes payable. What's going on there?
Quadrupled.
Right.
They took a
They
What are
moved
notes?
5 times.
Took a big loan.
Yeah, look at notes payable. They went out and they got a bank loan. And that bank loan went up and so forth. What did they buy? If you remember from the story, what did they go in and buy? They did what?
Custom officer furniture for computers.
Right? But when you're financing here on this bank loan, what do you think they spent that money on?
Building.
They bought it on a building.
Yeah.
And I think what you'll see here where the problem comes in, look at their current long-term debt. What happened to long-term debt?
Decreased.
All right. So the question is a building a long-term asset or short-term asset?
Long term.
So what did they probably do wrong?
They bought it on them furniture. They bought inventory.
No, they actually bought the building.
Oh, they
But
did, their
they-
statement's wrong.
They bought it wrong. The statement is not wrong. The statement's correct. They bought it wrong. They bought it with short-term loan. Instead of buying the building with a long-term loan, they bought it with a short-term loan. That's a mistake. You buy short-term assets with cash flow. You buy long-term assets with long-term loans. And what they did is they bought a building, which is a long-term asset, and they bought it with short-term money. They put themselves in a tighter situation. I did the same thing. I do fix and flips, and I made the mistake because I'm thinking of how fast I was going to fix this property up and sell this property. So I went out and got a short-term 1-year loan, a 1-year loan on real estate. It was a $300,000 loan on real estate. What do you think the payments are for a 1-year loan on $300,000?
Really high.
Pretty high, right? That's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
But I did that. I went into that real estate deal thinking, well, I'm going to take this property, I'm going to fix this property, and by the time I'm making my third payment, I will have sold this property, and it's not that big of a deal. Huge mistake. Don't violate the rule. Buy long-term assets with long-term lending and short-term assets with short-term lending and or cash, so on and so forth. Don't ever think that you're going to beat that system no matter what's going on. And I thought I was going to beat that system, and I end up stuck with a property and a large mortgage payment in that short-term cycle. And then I had to go out and refinance that property, and I had to refinance it under a long-term mortgage in order to get my payments down. But that's what they did, is they bought a new building, and they bought it with a short-term note instead of making it part of their long-term debt. You can look at their accounts payable. Accounts payable, that's what they owe their vendors, right? What's going on with their accounts payable?
They owe a lot.
Triple, almost triple.
Yep. So their accounts payable is going up as well, right? So what does that mean about them and their ability to pay their bills?
They're having a hard time paying the bills.
They're getting slower, right? They were paying their bills at a pretty good rate down here, and now they're taking longer to pay their bills, and they're taking even longer to pay their bills. If they're taking longer to pay their bills, what are their vendors probably going to do to them?
Cut them off.
Yep, they're probably either going to cut them off, or they're going to raise some prices, right? Take away some discounts that they might have been getting, so on and so forth. So all of that comes into play, and so forth. So when you look at their total current liabilities, it's increasing as well. Total current liabilities is increasing, but their long-term debt, which should have been increasing because they got a building, is not increasing across the board. So when you look at that, that's what their balance sheet looks like. And those are the trends. It's important for you to be able to do this. So part of your handouts is I gave you a blank financial statements. It's important for you to go back to your business and look at your own financial statement and so forth, and follow the trends. Where were you a year ago? Where were you 2 years ago? And where are you now? So a 3-year trend. If you haven't been in business that long, then do this on a quarterly basis. Where were you 4 quarters ago? Where were you 3 quarters ago? And now where were you 2 quarters ago? And make sure that you're monitoring your trends to see which way your financials are flowing. Does that make sense? So it's important for you to be able to do that. The next statement that you look at is the income statement. When we look at the income statement, first of all, what does the balance sheet tell us? 1 second, I got something going on here. What are you seeing on your screen?
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Where would you put like owner's equity, like money that you invested into your own business to get started?
All right, anybody know the answer to that?
Is it cash?
Okay.
It'd be under liabilities, right?
Right, so when you do your balance sheet, you know what your assets are, right? Those are the things that you actually own.
Right.
Your liabilities are things that you owe. So if the owner puts money into the business, where did the owner put that money in? If they deposited it into cash and they put, let's just say the owner put $10,000 in cash in the business. If I'm going to keep the balance sheet balanced, where does the $10,000 go? I put $10,000 in cash on the asset side. On the liability side, where does that $10,000 go?
Accounts payable?
Retained earnings?
It's the retained earnings. So the owner either owns capital stock or they are retaining earnings. It's what this is what belongs to the owner. What belongs to the owner is the retained earnings, or maybe they have it in the form of capital stock. If you don't have capital stock in your business, then the retained earnings is where your money is balanced out at. So if you put $10,000 of your money, the owner went and bought $10,000 worth of inventory over here. So you took this from 419 to 429 to balance it out. The owner down here now has another $10,000 in retained earnings that belongs to the owner.
Do you have to?
Because remember, when we talked about those three things that can be done with the net profits, right? That it could be it could be used to pay a loan. It could be used to invest back into the business, right? Used to pay the loan, used to invest back into the business. And what was the third thing that it could be used for?
Take home salary.
Take home as a salary, right? So if you took it home as a salary, it'll show up on the income statement down here as salary. But we're talking about on the balance sheet. The balance sheet, the way that you took money out of the company is you took it out either in the form of capital stock, or you took it out in the form of retained earnings.
I have a question.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Okay, if this has to always equal the same at the end, in the assets, how would you describe it? I mean, you've already described in liabilities. How do you describe it in assets? Do you have to have?
Well, where did you put it? What did you do with the money when it came in? Did you put it in a cash account? Did you use it to buy inventory? What did you do with the money when you as the owner put the money into the business? What did you do with it? Right, it's not just sitting there. It's in one of your accounts. When you took the money as an owner, you put the money into the business. Maybe you as the owner, you bought a vehicle. You took the money and you purchased a vehicle. Or maybe you took the money and you purchased inventory. Or maybe you took the money and you added into your cash account to give yourself some more cash.
So it does it, but under the cash, let's say you just leave it as cash, basically like a savings account, in other words. So it would be under cash and there'd probably be a note or something attached to it indicating that amount.
No, your bookkeeper will help you define what it is that you're doing. Will help you define where it goes, but it depends on what you are doing with the money. That's what it comes down to. If you're putting it in cash, then just label it as cash. There's no reason to label it with any other name. You just label it as cash. I don't know what happened to that marking. Let me clear that marking.
That makes sense.
Right?
So, thank you.
So I have a question, but in the liabilities, it will always remain a retained earnings or capital stock?
Not unless you gave it as a loan. What if you as the owner loaned the money to your company? Right? Okay. So your bookkeeper will help you figure out exactly what you did when you as the owner, if you came in, you say, hey, I want to put some money into my business.
Right.
Well, how are you putting that money into the business? Are you giving the business more cash to be able to use as cash? Are you purchasing a vehicle? I mean, what are you doing with that money? So remember, if you go back to the cash flow cycle, that money's coming in as cash.
Right.
Right? And then it's used to buy inventory. That inventory is what generates the accounts receivable. So down here in your statement, what you are finding is when you put money into the business, what are you doing with the money in the business? Where did it go?
I'm talking about the liability section. So will it always either be a capital stock or retained earnings no matter what you do with it in your assets?
No, because if I'm the owner and I gave the money to the company, if I loan the money to the company, then it'll show up as an accounts it'll show up as a loan.
Okay.
And now the company is making payments to me to pay
Right.
back the loan.
Okay.
But
understood.
typically, in a lot of cases, when you're not loaning the money to the company, you're just giving the money outright to the company, you're investing in your company yourself.
Right.
That's where the money goes into either retained earnings or capital stock. Either way, you either bought stock in your own company
Right.
or you deposited the money in retained earnings.
Okay. I understand.
Because what happens with retained earnings in the end? That's where you're paying your salary from,
Right.
right?
Right.
So now you go back to the company and you take out of retained earnings to pay your salary.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
I have another
All right.
question. I have
Go
another-
ahead, I'm listening.
So for instance, the grant that we're given,
Uh-huh,
that is cash flow into our business.
okay,
Then we would separate under our assets and liabilities. First, it would start as an asset, and then we would, account for it based looking on the things that we bought for our business. Would it ever be a part of the retained earnings? How would that show up? Because we're not paying it back. We've been given this money. So
right. It's always gonna show up on both sides of the balance sheet.
Yeah.
It's always gonna show up as an asset and always show up as a liability. It will always show up on both sides. So when it shows up on the asset side, how did it originally come into your business? Maybe it came into your business as a $10,000 cash. So you just put it in cash. And then from that cash, you went out and you bought all these other things. So your cash went down and whatever it is that you bought went up. So that $10,000 initially is coming in as cash. That's exactly what it is cash. And then you'll figure out how you broke down that $10,000 to purchase whatever else it is that you purchased. Maybe you spent that entire $10,000 and you went out and bought a vehicle. So vehicle went up $10,000 and cash went down $10,000. But when it came in as cash.
secondary question to that.
Okay.
How do you feel about using the grant money specifically and getting a secondary business loan using the grant money as a collateral in order to build your business credit recognition? What do you think?
Well, two things. First is my opinion doesn't matter. The second thing is when you make financial decisions about purchases and expansions and things of that nature, you want to make sure that they fall in line with your strategic plan and that you've weighed all your options.
Yes.
So when you look at that, you have to ask yourself, if you took that $10,000, how's it going to impact the rest of your numbers? And how's it going to impact the rest of your business? So I can't really answer that question for you, even with an opinion, because I don't have your financial statements in front of you. Maybe you should have taken that $10,000. And if you're like this folks over here, maybe you need to pay down some of that debt to put yourself in a better situation. Maybe you need to pay off some of your accounts receivable so you can get some discounts from your vendors. I don't know. Until we look at your financial statements, we don't know what's the best place for that $10,000. Does that make sense?
Oh, I do understand that. What if you're starting basically on a clean slate?
There's no such thing as a clean slate, right?
Theoretically, I'm just using theoretical model.
Right. So every business, even a business from scratch, has a financial statement, which means you have a balance sheet that lists everything that you own and everything that you owe. So every business has a balance sheet.
Yes.
And based upon that balance sheet, what you're going to find here in a moment as we go forward is you'll run some some ratios on it to figure out whether or not you're in alignment with the industry and with what everyone else is doing, or whether you're out of alignment.
Yeah,
I want to move on to the income statement real quickly. And as we look at the income statement, the bottom line is the balance sheet tells you how your business is doing over a lifetime of the business.
Yes.
That's a snapshot picture of your business. It's how does my business look today and so forth. The income statement shows you the profitability of your business. So if we look at the income statement, you can see this business sales are increasing, right? That's the trend. Their sales are increasing over the past 3 years. And most business owners make the mistake of thinking, because my sales are increasing, that must mean I must be doing well. My business must be improving. But it would be a mistake to simply look at the sales line and say, well, my sales are increasing, my business must be improving, because your cost of sales is also going up. The question is the cost of sales going up at the right rate? And we don't know that until we look at the ratios. We don't know that until we look at the ratios and determine whether or not everything's in alignment. Salaries going up. Obviously, taxes go up with the salary, things of that nature. Utilities are going up. You're in a larger building, so on and so forth. So if you look at the trends, the bottom line is you first have to look at the trends and decide what's going on and whether these trends are appropriate. Is it appropriate? Tracy's responding in the chat as to where your grant money needs to be going to, where your grant money needs to be used for. And it was put into your budget narrative, right? So you've already, in your narrative, when you applied for the grant, you already described how you're going to spend that money. That's what I'm reading, what Tracy's telling you there. So that question that you asked you should have already been answered when you applied for the grant.
Thank you.
All right. So after you've looked at the trends, the next thing that you want to do is evaluate the ratios. This is your scorecard. And Judith, this is the tool that you would be using to make those types of financial decisions. So when we look at this scorecard in year 1 and year 2, if we look at the current ratio, which is current assets over current liability, what's the trend of the current ratio?
Decreasing.
It's decreasing. Is that good or bad?
Good.
We don't know, right? Because we got to compare it with the industry. So we got to get the industry number to find out what the industry number is. So if I come out here and I look at the industry's number for the current ratio, the industry number for the current ratio is a 1.8, right? This company is in the $1 to $10 million range. So I'm using this set of numbers that's here in the middle. If they were making less than $1 million, I would be using this set of numbers. If they were in the $10 to $50 million range, I would use this set of numbers. But they're in the $1 to $10 million range,
1 to 10.
right? When I look at their sales, right? They're in the $1 to $10 million range. So the ratio that they should have for a current ratio should be 1.8. They were at a 1.7. So they were close to that 1.8. Now they're at a 1.1. So they got worse. They're not doing as well as the industry. If I looked at their quick ratio, which is cash plus accounts receivable over current liabilities, they were at a 0.8. They're now at a 0.5. If I look at the quick ratio for their industry, they should be at a 0.8. That's what the industry says they should be at a 0.8. Where they were at a 0.8, now they're at a 0.5. Again, they're getting worse, right? They're getting worse. So when you compare what they're doing to the industry, their ratios are getting worse. Their trend is to get worse and worse and worse across the board. And the secret for you in your own business is to come up with these numbers, figure out whether you said this was Q1, Q2, or year 1, year 2, whatever numbers you have for your current business, to go ahead and punch out these numbers to create your own scorecard. And then take that scorecard, figure out what your ratios are based upon going out to asking your banker for your ratios. That's the best place to get your ratios from. You get your ratios from your banker and so forth. And then compare your ratios with the industry ratios. Once you have that understanding and you know what these ratios are, then you can make some decisions about which way your business should go. You can make decisions about whether or not you need to purchase more inventory, whether or not you need to slow down on your sales. Sometimes you'll find that your sales are increasing at a faster rate than you're able to handle. So you need to slow down on your sales. Ways that you can slow down on your sales is raise your prices to decrease the amount of sales that you're getting but you get more sales dollar, but your inventory starts to go down there. So there's lots of different strategies that you can have. So let me jump off of here real quick and get back over to the presentation so that I can close this out. All right, so. So the reason you need to know your numbers is because if you know your numbers, you can overcome some business problems. And you guys will have this handout, so I'm not going to go through it bullet point by bullet point. You can go through this handout. But these are the reasons why you need to know your numbers. And understanding your financial position is the only thing that we talked about today. We didn't talk about all this other stuff. We only talked about using your financial statements to understand your financial position. We talked about this 7-step process, and as you go through your handout, you'll see that in your handout, there's a full process that you go through with Profit Mastery. And it's a full 7-step process. And the only thing that we looked at was how to monitor your financial position. That full process includes planning properly, going back to Judith's question. You know, you're asking what to do with this money. Well, you plan properly from the very beginning, but the way that you create that plan is you have to know what your financial position is. You have to understand the difference between price, volume, and cost and those things that are going on, the elements of the financial parts of your business. Manage your cash flow so that you can determine how you're going to grow. And these are the steps that are taught in the complete Profit Mastery course. I actually teach this course, and this course is available where you guys can take it free, or you can go to profitmastery.net. And if I would talk with Tracy and talk with the folks there at TWU to see if you can use $195, I think it's $199 of your grant fund to take this full course. It's a full 2-day course. I won't be teaching this course again until October, but you can take it online. It's a full 2-day course you can take for $199, or you can go to our website, uta.edu/VBOC. Make sure you're on our mailing list to find out when I'm teaching the course, which again, I'm not teaching the course again until October, where you can take it for free. But the bottom line is you want to make sure that you understand and you know your numbers. Understand and know your financial statements and how to read your financial statements. What questions do you have regarding the financial statements?
Do we have like access to that sheet in like a fillable form?
Yes, you do. I provided the handouts. Are you talking about like in a electronically fillable form, like an Excel spreadsheet?
Yes.
I can see if I have it available to pass out to you in an electronic form, but I did provide it in a printout form.
Okay, thanks.
What other questions do you have?
This is a kind of a QuickBooks question that goes with it. So I pulled off all my profit and loss statements and my balance sheets, but I didn't see for income statement in the QuickBooks. Is that I just pulled that from my profit and loss? I always struggle with the income statement. So
well, income is profit and loss.
Okay,
so they are the same statement.
Okay, I was just making sure as I was going through looking at the two different ones, I pulled the right thing. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the income statement is the profit and loss statement. It shows in the end, they call it net income, net profits. It's the same one that people just use a different language, but they're the same statement. The third statement that you might have been thinking about is a cash flow statement.
Yeah, and so then when I'm doing year 1, year 2, year 3, I probably should be looking at 2018, 2019, and 2020 when I'm putting this together, or and looking at like the balance sheet will come from December 31st of each one of those years.
That's correct.
Okay.
Right. So the balance sheet will be the ending balance statement or the ending balance sheet from each one of those years. So ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. This went a lot faster than I expected it to go. I wanted to really be able to let you guys run some numbers and crunch some numbers and actually do the ratio analysis. But you have the handouts. That's the reason I gave the pre-work, so that I wouldn't have to do some of the stuff that we did. But since we didn't get to the pre-work, we took some of the time to actually do it on the call. But what I want to encourage you to do as you leave this call is I want to encourage you, one is look at the handout that I gave you for the pre-work, and you can go back and watch 2 videos. The 2 videos will take you through exactly what we just went through, right? So you get a chance to slow down and watch the videos and go what we just went through and actually walk through the financial statements. But more importantly than that, what I want to encourage you to do is take the blank financial statements that I've made available to you, and I want you to go do that for your own business. Fill out your own financial statements. If you have to gather information from your bookkeeper or your accountant, do that, but fill out your own financial statements and do the ratio analysis. Actually go in, find out what your ratios are, and compare your ratios to the industry's ratios and figure out what your trends are. Are you trending along with the industry and doing a good job? Are you trending contrary to the industry and not doing such a good job, so that you can strategically make some decisions about changes in your business? Do you lower your inventory? Do you slow down on your sales? Do you buy a new asset? Do you add a new employee? All those decisions come from understanding your financials. Tracy and Donalisa, that's my time for today. So I'm going to yield it back to you. I will stay on and answer whatever questions anyone else has to answer beyond, but I want to make sure that I honor everyone's time.
Thank you, Patrick. That's such great information. And I know it may seem a lot to a lot of you in the hour and a half, but then you have the sheets and everything to work with. So thank you for providing those, Patrick. Again, great information. I think Donalisa has got a few things for us.
Yes, so we realized that kind of with everybody, COVID, we're doing this virtually, and then the fact that you guys are kind of spread out over different locations in Texas, we did put a little bit of a poll together to see if you would be interested in setting up a different platform to be able to communicate, maybe do some collaborations together and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to launch the poll now for you to take. And you can let us know if you're interested in participating in a private group for information and networking with other grant winners. And if so, what platform you would like to use.
Can you explain what Microsoft Teams and Slack is?
So those are Microsoft Teams and Slack are both like think of it as like a co-working space online. It's a way where people can come in and collaborate and share files and communicate and that kind of thing. So.
And chat. So Slack is similar to that as well. It's
Yes.
just like a place you guys can all go and talk with each other. I mean, we didn't want to get it too far out if people weren't familiar with some of those, but if you have another idea or anything, let us know that. But we really, so often you miss that when you aren't in person. So if you're interested in something like that, that way, if you guys want to talk more amongst yourself and learn what other people are doing, and, you know, we did it for the big grant we had last year and people were networking with each other, or do you know something about this? So if you're interested, just let us know and we'll be glad to set something up for you.
Which one did you have the most success in? Like, I would love to join any of them, but it only lets you pick one choice. So
you could
have the most success in.
Well, we did that one in a Facebook private group.
And that was pretty much the results tonight, was a Facebook group. I think that's probably the easiest for everybody to navigate. Everybody kind of knows how that works versus trying to learn a new platform like Slack or Microsoft Teams. So we wanted to give you guys the option. So I will get something set up and send you out an email probably this week an email with the Facebook group in it. Also, we're going to be doing a social media feature on you if you're interested in doing that. Just a heads up, I would love to do I always like to do a photo of the owners. So especially because you guys are veterans and female veterans, I would love to do a side-by-side, like you in your military uniform. And then also now as an entrepreneur, I think that'd be super cool. So if you've got those, dig them out. And then I know Justina was going to send some information, so that will all come in one email for you. And that's all I have, Tracy.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone, so much for being here. I know, again, that was a lot of information today. Yeah, Cassie.
Sorry, I do have a question about that because I'm still in the military. I don't know about the like publicity part of it. I might have to get permission for some things.
Basically, we would just be asking for your name, your business name, maybe what you were using the grant money for your business. It wouldn't be anything that would be distasteful or anything, but I can send, when I send you the questions, then you can share that with your chain of command so that I'll even put the post together for you and send it ahead of time for you to show them to make sure it's okay. Yeah, I've been there, I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any other questions on anything?
I'm still not clear about where did we put the grant money on the liability statement. Was it retained earnings?
Well, that was Patrick. He said where.
Yeah. No, I'm still here.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you don't have stock in your company, then yes, it is retained earnings.
Okay, cool.
Right. So if you don't have stock, then it's retained earnings because that retained earnings belongs to you as the owner. All right. So it goes in retained earnings.
Thank you, Patrick.
And it decreases, oh no, it won't ever decrease, will it? In retained earnings because you're using it for items that you need.
Well, retained earnings is a cumulative number, so it always changes based upon as the company grows or decreases. As the company increases or decreases, retained earning moves in that direction because it's a cumulative number, right? So if you add more money to your business, you're adding more money to retained earnings, or if you start selling stock, then you're adding money to the stock. But it always balances there. Here's the easiest way for you to think of that and the easiest way for you to figure it out. Along with your bookkeeper and your accountant, everything on your balance sheet has a category. If it doesn't fit into a category, it's going in, then there's only two places left. That's retained earnings and cash. So you either use the money on the asset side to actually purchase an asset. If you have not identified a specific asset that you've used the money for, then it's probably still sitting in your cash account. That's on the asset side. On the liability side, if you don't owe the money back, in other words, like a grant, if you don't owe the money back and you don't have stock that you sell, then it's more than likely it's going into the retained earnings column. So it's either going to be retained earnings or the stock. That's the only two places on the asset side that the owner usually contributes money through and so forth. Does that make sense on the liability side? Did I answer that question? Yes, no, maybe?
I see a lot of nods, yes.
Okay. I was trying to put the worksheet into the chat, but for some reason it wouldn't take it. Yeah, it says my network is disconnected or something of that nature.
If you just send it to me, Patrick, I'll load it up into the folder that I sent all the other documents out, and then they'll just be able to have access to it.
Okay, that'll work.
Yep.
Very good. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Patrick. That was great. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We will see you again next week. Another question.
One more question. The speaker from last week, did you ever get her slides and stuff?
I have not heard back from her. I will poke her again today. I know she was finishing up vacation and she may have had some other things going on, so I will check with her again.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, was there one more question?
I have questions. Does TWU offer just basic business, starting a small business classes? After tonight, I feel like I just might probably need to just start all over again because I'm all over the place right now with this class.
Yeah.
We do in the fall, we have those with another grant program where we go through all the basics. We do have some on our YouTube page. If you want to go there, some of the basics, we have an accountant, social media. What all's on there, Donna Lisa?
Yeah, there should be this, the last iteration, there should be 2 playlists of the small business training course. I would look at the most recent one, which is, I believe, the photo is a lady, a woman in a yellow shirt. And I think on there, it talks about it. There's a resource video, then there's one about insurance, there's one about financials. There was one about your banker and something else. And those are really great places to start. And I remember that was the one with, I think her name is Lynn. She used to be a CPA and her financial classes are really good too. So
it's all on YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah, I just put the link in the chat. So if you want to copy that, it will take you right there. And then if there's some areas, again, you feel like you need more help on, you can watch those videos. And then again, we have our small business advisor who can work with you one-on-one as well on certain aspects of that. Again, if you want to save the chat, to keep everything from tonight and what Patrick said down in the chat box over to the far right are 3 dots. Click that and you can save the chat with all these links and everything in it.
But just FYI, you'll only be able to save when you hopped on. So if you came in like halfway through or hopped on, hopped off, you'll only be able to get what you were there for.
One last question. How do we get in touch with you just said you had a small business advisor. How do we get in touch with them?
Through our website. Looks like Donna Lisa's busy now, or our link tree has all the links on. Hang on and we can grab the link. It's on our website under.
So she's also going to be sending, that's what's in her email was about setting up a time with her.
So we will get all of that information out to you as quick as we can.
So much.
You're welcome. Glad you're here. All right. Any other questions?
Real quick.
There you go. Donna Lisa has that link in there. If you would just want to click on that one as well. Or save the chat. All right, everybody. We will see you next week. And our speaker next week is going to be Patrick again, but he's going to be talking about marketing next week. So very good. We look forward to seeing you then. Everyone have a good evening.